one of my deliveries this morning, and I am on my way to conclude my day to start the rest of my morning. Um, it's my other job. So, yeah. So that's what I'm doing. I want to come on here to say hi to everybody. Hopefully your day is going swell. There's quite a bit of things that I can talk about today. But I'm going to start off by saying this, okay? Because when I was told things are going to be revealed, and when God was showing me things were going to be different, and things were going to be revealed, and how people need to get their houses in order, the first thing I thought about was myself. I did not think about other people. I definitely did not think about other people. I thought about myself. Because there were so many things that I wanted to do. I knew that God was telling me to come out of some stuff, but there were a lot of things. Wow. There were a lot of things that I wanted to do for myself and to grow as an individual. And I knew I wasn't making it at that time and getting to that point. And so that's what I really thought about. And that's what I kind of focused on. Later, I was pulled back and just told, like, it was just revealing for a lot of people, not just me. This is something that is going in our environments, because you can feel there's a shifting. You can feel there's a change. Like, people are really, and it started like maybe about a year or two ago, like a definite shift. But this year, more than ever, especially with all the stuff that's going on around us, okay? And you start seeing people getting exposed. People, stories that you would have never thought in a million years you would hear, okay, are coming out about people. And you're like, wow, like, I just can't even believe this is even happening. Like, is this for real? And you're like, yeah. And it also made me start thinking and thinking about what it says in the Bible and what God says about looking up to man, because you don't know what these people are doing. You do not know what these people are doing behind closed doors. They can be telling you one thing and it look all good, and it can be told something totally different. So just like Shannon Sharpe, it had, all these girls, you would think that all these women are talking to them and all this other stuff, and he can get just about anybody, right? But he's in a scandal, and he's dealing with someone who is a worker of the night. That's what I'll say. And I don't judge people for what they do. That's what you do. Okay? However, his podcast doesn't reflect that, doesn't reflect that at all. And you'll be like surprised, and you'll be even shocked, like, what is really going on? If you got all this money, you can find somebody, you got a good status, you can find somebody who is diligent. And why are you taking the cheap? Why would you go and get somebody who is honestly beneath you? Let me just say it just like that. If you looked at it on one way, okay? Because most men, and this is the honest to goodness truth, women will forgive men for stuff like that, for being a gigolo, but men are very much reluctant on being around a person. Even if they like them at the beginning, they could be around them, they could be laying with them, they will not respect them. And after a while, if they think they can do better, they're going to discard them like nothing, okay? And so, especially with someone of that caliber who has the status now, and who had the status, okay, because he was an athlete, and had the accolades, the backing and everything, why would you go that route? But some people think that they're getting a cheaper route. They're getting with that one, they're getting a cheaper route, when that's not the That's not the case, you know? It's not the case. Because you're like, oh yeah, well, this person ain't taking me for my money. I could just, this is what they do. I give them this small fee and they're just done. They're in and they're out of my life, you know? And they know it's a contract, and they know. And I don't have to deal with, you know, committing to a person. I don't have to deal with getting to know a person, being vulnerable, letting my guards down and being vulnerable, opening myself up to other people. I don't have to take time to know that person, in order to get what I want, you know. And I know people are gonna be like, well, many people do that, women do it. It doesn't matter if it's men or women. This is just a scenario that has came up. We all know that there are women who do this too, but they're mostly men. And it's a rise in women doing it too. It's a rise in it because people are just me. Not understanding when you try to do shortcuts, you end up messing up. You end up messing up, okay? And so now he's at this high-ranking position. He's got his dream job. He's doing what he wants to do and everything. And now, you know, you get all this scandal. You get all this scandal. And it sounds good to, you know, to a mess person. They like, oh yeah, that's publicity. You know, that's, you know, most men do that. But I promise y'all, people who are on real time and people that are his age that are really doing business dealings and doing workings, they know what's up. They know what's up, okay? They won't even try to touch nothing like that. They won't even try to. There is so many, I can guarantee you, there are so many avenues, so many opportunities that man has messed up just by having this scandal. I promise you that. And I know some people gonna be like, well, you know, that's part of life. You're gonna have all this. It is part of life, but it also tells us, you know, to be wise about the company that you keep, be wise about the people that are around you, okay? Because you'll end up just as filthy as them. And I'm gonna tell y'all a story about what I went through like this personally. I had two former friends that I had known in the field of work that I did, which was aviation, right? And we bonded because we had similar stories. We both grew up in restricted areas where there was a sense of lack. And yeah, some of our traditions were kind of the same. Learned a lot about that person's, their families. They learned a lot about my families. So, you know, things were cool, you know. Later on, they ended up choosing to do some extracurricular activities that I kind of was not down with. You know, it sounded good at the beginning, but, and I know at that time I didn't know why I was not down with it, because it seemed so good. It seemed so good to get a transaction, to get, you know, so much money for only being around somebody for 10 minutes or 10 seconds, or, you know, not having nobody touch you or anything like that. You still getting money. It seemed really good. It seemed very tempting. But I know that was the Holy Spirit stopping me from not even going that route, okay? And they went on about that route. I never really judged them or anything, but long story short, the relationship ended because after a while, I wasn't the one that was being resented. They were making money. I was making regular money, y'all. They was making money, okay? But I was being resented. I was following them the same way when they go to these parties and meet new people and all that. I was meeting those same people, but I wasn't going down doing what they was doing. And at first, those people, the people who they were connecting with, were looking at me and tell me, well, why are you here, blah, blah, blah. And I would explain. Some of them I would explain. Some of them would be like, well, get away, you know, blah, blah, blah. Others would be like, okay, well, she just kind of cool. And I had different, you know, relationships. And when I say relationships, just common talking. It was nothing sexual, nothing like that. But I got to know the people as people while they were knowing them in a different light. And at the beginning, it looked like they were getting the benefits. They were getting money, okay? That's the benefits, okay? They was getting the money. They was getting the extra trips. You know, I might be a tag along or something like that. but I wasn't getting the stuff because I wasn't doing, I wasn't going for it. And even though, you know, when you get in those areas, some of those people, they will tempt you, okay? Unless they think you are disgusting, they want you far away from them, and then you ain't gonna be around it. And there was sometimes that people that were like that, or they think that they doing something and they want you to do, and you ain't going for it. They think you better. They gonna kick you out. I've had that happen. But I just stood to what I believed in. I stood to what God was really holding. I know that was God's hand holding me from not going that route. And let me tell y'all, a lot of those relationships, those connections that they had, you would have thought that they was gonna have them for a long time. No, those people, those men dropped them like a bad habit. The connection, they didn't trust them, but I was still having connections with most of those people I was connecting with. Okay, still had those connections, y'all. And I used to be like, just why? Because all I did was sit there and talk. They would have conversations with me. They would be going out doing all types of stuff, going out to, they would just call and talk to me. Sometimes have conversation. I was like, okay, I'm not somebody's therapist, because, you know, people will keep you on the phone. And I was like, what do they see in me? Like, to sit here and have these conversations. I'm not going to be somebody's weigh-in, because a lot of people will try to do that to you. I've had that happen to me too. People just try to use you as a therapist. Like, but that wasn't always the case. And like I said, after a couple of months, sometimes it'd be weeks, they would be getting less and less money. Because it's almost like an adrenaline, like a drug. You know, the drug is not as potent as the first time. And while they was doing all that, I didn't get no money or anything. Sometimes I started getting gifts and things like that later. And even still to this day, some of them still, you know, conversating, have really real conversations with me. Like, but they started dealing with them less and less and less, to the point where they was even though they were around them, they was taking them to these parties, and they would drop them off like they were disgusting. They won't even talk to them in public. When they was talking to them in public at the beginning, like that's how this thing happened. And so I've seen it, you know, living through that and seeing that time and time again with men. Okay. Now I've known some women who've done this to men too. Like, oh, that's crazy. But long story short, people who have assets and they're really working towards something, they don't really try to keep that around them. And not only that, people who've grown into wealth and is really disciplined and really on something, they're gonna nip that stuff in the butt long time ago. That's why you'll see most of them will get married. Okay, most of them will get married. If you go into a lot of business dealings, when I was married, one of the things that when doing business relationships with people who are financially stable and they're dealing with business, one of the things they look for is people who are seeing if that person is married. You're gonna look at their age and all that. I'm telling y'all think it's a game. I kid you not. They look and see if you are married, or have you had a long partnership. And not only that, if you had a long partnership and you haven't married, that business owner, for the most part, most of them, they won't even do business with you, because they see that as somebody who does not know how to make decisions that are wise and beneficial to them. Everything has a consequence. Your relationships matter. Your connections matter. Okay, you could be nice to people, you could have some kind of relationship, but when you deal with business, the people that you are intimate with makes a huge difference, and it says a lot about who you are as a person. It says a lot about who you are as a person. That's why it is so wise. It is so much wise to guard yourself from situations like that. And I even had to take that into account when I went through my stuff, when I went through a divorce and all that other stuff. I had to take that in. I had to look at it and take that into account. Remember, what did you do? What was the good things? What were the bad things that you, if I would have remembered that, I wouldn't even been in that situation. Okay? And for someone to be in their 50s, y'all, 50s and 60s, that's a huge red flag. That should be something that somebody should be making in their 20s, maybe 30s. Maybe 30s, y'all. Maybe 30s. And I ain't gonna say that everybody get that, because there are a lot of people who are older than him that are men and women who are doing that. But I'll tell you this, most of the time it's women. It ain't men most of the time. It ain't men most of the time. When you see them, they usually did it a lot in their 20s. They catching up, and they went all wild out, you know. But you'll see the destruction. It'll look like they're riding on a high horse at the beginning, but you see that destruction later on in the end, when they can't find nobody that they want to be with. Those same people that they was going after and they was fornicating with and doing all that other stuff, they cannot attain to those people no more. Those people are not even looking in their area. They're not even looking in their sphere. Okay? Because they really don't see them as high value. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are on this platform and a lot of other platforms who are swearing up and down that they are high value and high this. And if y'all believe them, y'all just as lost. Y'all just as lost as they are. I don't care what nobody say. At this point in my life, I gotta be very honest. You can tell people who they are and what they stand for by their fruit. Okay? I don't think of no man as a high value person based off of the money that they got. It's based off of their actions, based off of the fruit that they have sown. Okay, are they believers? Because if you really believe a believer of the word, even with me, man or woman, you have to go and reference what that word says. You have to reference what that word says. If you say you're a believer, it's really so transparent now. It's so transparent. That's why a lot of people are saying, "Oh yeah, well, I can't go to church. I can't do this because this person, they all fakes and fakes." No, they ain't the only fakes. You the fake. Because if you was real recognize real recognize real, and they wouldn't care about the fakes. Okay, I had to come to that conclusion too. You got to look and see what part did you play in of that fake shit. Did you get yourself disciplined? Did you get yourself in that word and all that? Because guess what? It's gonna knock all that bull crap out. It's gonna knock the dumbness out of you. Like all that stuff that used to be good. See, if Mr.Sharpe would have seen all that stuff that used to be good in his 20s and 30s, it ain't gonna look too good when you get older. It ain't gonna look too good when you get older. It ain't even worth it. You be like, you know what? It was fun while it seemed good, but I don't want to deal with all that extra stuff. I don't want to deal with all that extra stuff for what? You know what pleasure was it? 10 minutes of pleasure? And you could tell the girl is just bitty dum because she went and he was about to give you a certain amount. You could have shut your mouth up and asked him how to put you on and flip the money that he gave you and did some real estate. You know, there's a lot of people who used to be workers and be in real estate, y'all. Real estate, y'all. They be on it. That's the number one thing that people who, and not to be funny, but y'all look it up yourself. Drug addicts and free people, recovery addicts and workers. You know? And pimps too, hustlers. Oh yeah. Selling, yeah, baby. Yeah. Real estate. Cause they got that slickness in them. They using their gifts. But y'all, people not getting it. They seeing the little lights. They seeing the little, the glitz and the glamour. They see the people jumping around. They see the flashy money. They see the benefits of being around somebody who has that stature, and they like, oh well, this got to be a high value person. No. If y'all look at out, especially in the States, if y'all look at most of the people who got money, most of them people are the most. Some of them people are the most low scums of the earth. Look at these people. Look at the rappers. Some of these entertainers, they don't even have nothing to say, and they got so much money. They tell them, oh, that's a high value person. To who? Because if they didn't have that money, would they still be high value? If Shannon Sharpe didn't have that money and he was doing all this, would y'all think he was high value? Would y'all? No. No. So stop looking at it like that, okay? Stop looking at it like that. It's dealing with the heart and the actions. What you doing, okay? He thought he was taking shortcuts, and we all do that. I even had to do that with myself, even with being around people who are like that. Okay, I wasn't doing it, but I was around a lot of those people who were like that, and guess what happened? Okay, I had to deal with some of the consequences of people thinking that I was like that. There are some people who still think that I was down with the program until they got to know me. Some people just didn't have nothing to do with me because that's what you're supposed to do, have nothing to do with workers of iniquity. If you doing something wrong, don't have no portion of that. But I was like, oh, this is my friend from way back when, and I'm gonna ride with them even if I don't do the stuff. I'm gonna ride with them and I'm gonna be cool with them. You know, not knowing that these people would later turn on me because I didn't do what they was doing. And that was one of the reasons why I stayed around it, because I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I'm not going to sit here and, not be around you or judge you because of what you're doing. But they judged me. You see what I'm saying? For not doing what they was doing, which I knew in my heart it was wrong. You know what I'm saying? But I was around. That's what I'm telling y'all. It's about intent. And nothing goes, nothing in this world goes unpunished. I used to think that it did. Oh yeah, you're lucky and blah blah this. God might give you grace that your stuff don't get publicized like this, man. But I tell you, nothing goes unpunished. You might not. It might not be broadcast today or tomorrow. It might be in later years. You think you got away with it. And this curse is living in your land for generations because nobody's addressing it. Or you doing something, you get you don't get in trouble, but or you around that person end up getting locked up, because it could have been like this. I've had friends who got locked up for doing crazy stuff like that too, and it was by the grace of God I was not with them that day, okay? But you living with the aftermath. People, you was with them, okay? So I can't trust you either. Think about people who rob, kill, and steal, and you around them. You don't do that, but people don't know the difference. They don't know the difference. And even though Shannon Sharpe, you can tell you trying to, clean up himself and all that other stuff, that stuff come running back to you. Never know. That's why it's always best. And we can't change the past, but we can change now. We can't change the past, but we can change now. I'm going to say that one more time. We cannot change the past, but we can change now. Change the way you look at things. Change on how you respond. The places you go, the people you see, cut them off. If they are not building you, I don't give a care how much you love them, how much you care for them. I don't give a care. It's people you know, people you kicked it, your friends, whatever, your loved one. I do not care if they are not glorifying God, if they not getting you to the next destination, if they not best for you. Please disconnect from them by all means. By all means, okay? Because let me tell y'all something. And I really do think that God was in Mr. Sharpe's corner, because they could have still took him down, even though he had all those details and those notifications saying, showing it that everything was consensual. Thank God God had it with that way. But that was grace. That was grace. Okay? Because y'all know what happens, especially when it's dealing with different complexions, okay? I'll say that. Different tones of the skin, especially in the States, okay? We know how that goes, okay? Whether you got a whole bunch of money or a penny, we know how that goes. That was just God showing him grace and mercy. Y'all got to be careful. Be careful on what y'all be doing. Be careful. Be intentional about your decisions. Who you connecting with? Who's speaking life to you? Who's around you? Okay? Because it can bite you in the end. On that note, I'm going to get off of here. Hopefully something I said or done will help you on your journey. Please stay tuned to Journey to Jerusalem, y'all. Have a good one.